All, welcome to our 10th, I can't believe it already, episode of the Bronze Age. Apologies for missing last week. XSplit was having some technical difficulties that prevented us and others, I hear, from streaming, but all resolved now, so we are set to go. Joining me, of course, my good buddy Mitchell. How's it going, pal?
It's going really well. How about yourself?
Doing well. I am not at work anymore. I am here, so that's always nice.
Anytime that happens, it's going to be a good day, right?
For sure. We have two games today. First one is a Silver 3. Our first repeat customer is our buddy Manko. And I'm going to check his email real quick to see if it says anything pertinent, and then we'll jump into it. And then our second replay will be our first gold replay. We'll take a look at that one. And yeah. So nothing from Manko in the email other than the email is entitled "This is what I deal with." So we'll see how that goes. And we'll jump right in. Silver 3, looks like Manko is on Thrall.
Have we done one for Manko before?
We did, yep. I said he's our first repeat customer.
Okay.
Yep.
Testing this out is going to be very interesting.
Yeah, the more I think the screen sharing, I think you'll probably be on about a 1 to 2 second delay as opposed to a 15-second delay, which is much more doable. And what I was going to say is the more I do this, watching the replays, and the more I play in my own Hero League, it's just, I think the conclusion I've come to is the lower you go in Hero League, the more you don't know what you're going to get. You can get good teammates, you can get terrible teammates, you can get people who have an understanding of what they're doing, you can get people who have no idea what they're doing. And it's just a crapshoot, and you got to, do the best you can with it. I had we're going to have to turn the music down. There we go. I dropped to gold 2, and I had my gold 1 promotion game yesterday, and we had a monster throw on towers, and I blame myself because I had one really critical death. But that's the difference between carrying yourself out of some of these ranks and not, is those one critical moment where you make the mistake that changes the momentum of the game. And I had a really good game otherwise, but it was just such a timely mistake. All right, let's see.
Yeah, Heroes is unfortunately one of those games where we talk about this all the time, about how most games can literally come down to one team fight right at the very end of the game.
Yeah.
And that kind of pushes either one team or the other fully over the edge.
In this particular game, I was on Zeratul, and they had a Chromie and a Morales, and I was really wrecking them with full stacks, and when I died and lost the stacks, I didn't have the burst to put the same pressure on them. And we were up on towers, 28 hit points left on ours to 4 on theirs. And we lost with 4 left on theirs. It was brutal.
That hurt.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where there wasn't, nobody played poorly. Well, our Thrall did die 9 times, but I really put it on myself because I had that one key moment. It was a staggered death. It was really silly, and it would just completely change the game. So that's what we're going to try to avoid, and you and I are also going to try to focus on streamlining our own analysis of these replays. So we are watching Thrall. Thrall is one of those heroes that is good in pretty much any comp, and one of the strongest solo laners in the game, an excellent frontliner. And if you can have him in your hero pool, I'm going to pause this and turn me down a little bit more. Every time I go into one of these older ones, the volume just kills me. But if you can have Thrall in your hero pool, as you do and I don't, he's such a good staple to have because he just kind of rounds out so many comps and does so many different things well. He's never a bad choice, and is sometimes a really, really good one.
Yeah, he has kind of fallen off in favor of some of the other melee heroes, but it's weird for me to say that because at the same time, he's like you said, he's never a bad choice. So he may have fallen off, but I still think that he's in a really great place, especially with the buffs to Earthquake. It makes that ult just so good.
Yeah, it does. And I'm gonna pick out a small thing here for Manko. I appreciate what he's doing, which is he's trying not to die. Now, his Muradin and Brightwing both kind of go a little bit ham, and they get themselves in a silly situation. Excuse me. And Manko is right not to put himself in this silly situation, but I'll see where I want him to change his tactics, which is right here. I would like to see him try to eat a little bit of this damage for his teammates. He's at full health, and for sure these guys are going to die. You just saw a lot of the CC go down already, so you're not likely to get CC'd here. So I would like to see Manko try to eat a little bit of damage here and maybe save one of your teammates.
Yeah, I completely agree, especially with somebody like Thrall,
yeah.
who's got a built-in escape with E, who's got really good self-sustain.
I mean, this early in the game, it's not that big a thing. Maybe you say Brightwing, maybe you don't, but you probably weren't going to die one way or the other. And same thing, that was a little bit of a waste of a tap. It was probably for mana, not health. But you kind of abandoned Muradin 4-on-1 in there. But I do like the attention to not dying.
And you know, that's not something that as Thrall you should actually be too concerned with. Now, if you want to pause it for just a second, and we can take a look at the talent that Thrall took at 1 here, which gives you mana back on enemies that you hit once they're hit by Chain Lightning. So, in other words, when you're laning, Chain Lightning can end up only costing you 5 mana, and that's only if you do not pick up a what am I trying to say? A regen globe, and that's one of those things that you have to pay attention to, keep on the lookout for. You just tapped there to get yourself some mana that you could have gotten back, and saved yourself the tap for when the temples eventually spawn. So it's just something to think about.
Yeah, once they increase the cooldown on those, you really got to pick your spots when you want to tap. So one thing we want to keep aware of, we say this a lot, evaluate your teammates. We've already seen our Muradin is a little bit overzealous. I'm going to say at this point, a little bit aggressive. Now I will say that...
Pun fully intended, I think.
Right, yeah. We're reading for Kyle Ferguson sometimes. He mentions, though, there's those heroes that in the beginning, they're kind of silly, and then they hit that certain hero's power spike, and all of a sudden they get really good, like Tracer's Instant Recall. You'll have a kind of a silly Tracer, and then they get to that power spike, and all of a sudden they're good. Muradin can be that way a little bit once he gets his healing clap and avatar. He can be a little bit silly in the beginning. You're like, dude, what are you doing? And what he's doing is he's not adjusting to the fact that he doesn't have those talents yet. You can not change how you play and go from a not effective Muradin to an effective Muradin just by getting those talents. So just something to keep in mind. If he has a certain play style and he hits a power spike later, that might make him a better player once he gets the play style. By the way, Manko, to dodge the Kerrigan stuns, you go sideways, not backwards.
Yeah, away from perpendicular lines.
Correct.
From Kerrigan, from the way Kerrigan is facing.
And
I like the decision to leave somebody bot here, to leave somebody soaking. That's always a good thing.
And I like the decision by Manko to look at this. All 3 lanes soaked, and they're still splitting the temples. That is perfect. You split the temples, and blue team is losing 2 lanes worth of soak here. So this is a really big advantage for you. I would really like to see Manko stay mid here. And Sylv getting a little free push in that top lane up here, if you look.
And yeah, that's the other thing too. If you ever get in a situation like this where you are the Thrall who happens to be near, I don't know, 4 members, I believe.
Don't go forward.
Don't go forward. It might even behoove you to go down to that bottom lane and help out the Valla with her push, because at this point the towers are just as much worth XP as the waves are. So just something to think about.
Yep, make sure you're soaking safely. He was pretty safe there. I was going to mention something similar. He stepped a little far forward for my liking, but for the most part soaked very safely. And you can look at the level right now, and that soak paid off. They split the camps, and they have a full level advantage right now. So red team really in a good spot here. I like what they're doing.
Now, okay, here is a little Thrall tip for everybody out there who's going to be watching this. One of the things that helped me get better at Thrall is my W control. Thrall's W is his rooting ability, and essentially you never ever want to throw out a raw W. What do I mean by a raw W? Well, Thrall has an ability on his E that gives him movement speed, that gives his next attack, his next 3 basic attacks hit almost instantly. And what you don't ever want to do as Thrall is just throw out a W just to throw out a W. It wastes your mana. It may get you some regen in the long run, but you can do the same thing with your Q, especially because this Thrall is building into his Q here. And it's if once you get the follow through at 7, which we're about to see if he picks up here, which he very well should. There we go. He essentially, what you want to be able to do, a full Thrall combo is hard to land, but super burst effective. You E, you auto attack, you W, you auto attack, and the Q and an auto attack will finish them off. That's what I'm talking about by a raw W. You never just want to throw one of those out there just to see if you can get somebody, because a lot of the times it's not going to do anything. It's not going to get you the full value that you want out of a good route, and you are in a position where you can be jumped in on by a Kerrigan, you can be jumped in on by a Varian who took Warbringer, and then you have to use your E to escape that. So it's just a little something I learned, and I actually picked that out of McIntyre.
Two things I'm going to follow up on. Thrall's not my cup de jour, so you're going to make a lot more Thrall-specific comments than I will. But generally speaking, skill-based routes like Thrall's Feral Wolf, also Arthas's, was it Howling Blast? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
They're very hard to initiate with, especially against good players. So they're much more better served as a follow-up to somebody else. So if you're, in this case, Muradin hits a stun, then you hit you follow up with the route after that. Also,
even in that instance, it's actually a follow up to yourself, right? An a route that's being preceded by an E, by his Tempest Fury, is one of those things where you are actually following up on yourself. You're using your E to close the gap, and once you get that auto attack off, you get basically a free W because you're right in front of the target that you want to route.
Right.
So you don't have to send it out, hope that you get a route, and then have to travel that distance to make it to your target. And the other thing about a follow-through talent like this one specifically, not something like Li-Ming's follow-through talent, for example, his follow-through doesn't stack. If you get a W out there and you don't auto-attack afterwards, that auto-attack bonus is done. By the time that you use your next ability, you're not getting 2 follow-throughs, you're only getting the 1 follow-through.
Yeah, so, it's like with Nova. You want to use your W, auto-attack, Q, auto-attack, E, auto-attack. If you don't use the auto-attack between your talents, you're losing your follow-through proc.
Absolutely, and that is a huge amount of the burst damage that is available to those characters.
We've talked about streamlining our replay analysis, so we're really going to focus more on Thrall, but I don't want to do it to the detriment of not learning from the other players. So really quickly, I'm going to touch on Muradin. Know your role. Muradin's role is never to Merc camp. Before Thrall came down here, he was asking people to help him with his Merc camp. He never should have been there in the first place. Know when your job is to Merc camp and it isn't, and Muradin's job is not to Merc camp. So keep that in mind.
Pretty much ever.
Yeah, unless he's with his teammate as part of a rotation later in the game, but otherwise, no. And this is when we harp on this a lot. Evaluate potential team fights. If we look at the mini-map here, Sylva's top, she's not coming. Vala's top, she's not coming. Muradin just hearthed back after trying to Merc camp and then got damaged and had to hearth back, so he's not coming. Your team, is basically seeding this bottom temple. At this point, you almost may as well go get the soak in all the lanes because you're not getting this bottom camp, and I really hope that Menko and Brightwing choose not to engage this because, you see, there, once you stepped out of the wall, you're vulnerable. They have a Varian and a Kerrigan and an Ariel. For Brightwing in particular, but Thrall to a lesser extent too, either one of you guys are vulnerable if they stack that to get blown up. Don't step out of this wall with their full team here. And you see Muradin is telling them to let the Merc camp go, ironically. So yeah, do not step out of that wall.
And, specifically right there at the same time that you said don't step out of the wall, what happened right before he stepped out was he actually wasted his whole full combos on Johanna at that point.
Yeah, don't do that
had
either.
a gap to close between him and the Kerrigan, which was the next squishiest target close to him. But don't blow your wad on somebody like a Johanna. You're wasting mana, you're wasting cooldowns, you're wasting your ability to form the battlefield how you want it to happen. Do you need an escape? Well, good. Don't use your E on Johanna just because she's right there in front of you. You're getting no value from it whatsoever.
Absolutely. Johanna doesn't care if you use her full combo on you pretty much ever. So you just need to be selective about when you do it to the tank. Really, basically, only if the tank did something stupid is about to die. But Johanna's not anywhere close to that. Let's look at the situation here. Our Muradin, who we've already made some observation on, literally, I don't know if you saw this, walked right by his entire back line, completely ignored them as they were getting attacked to go get on the camp. In the meantime, Sylvanas is in the top lane and nowhere to be found, and he left his back line to get engaged by a 4-on-3. At this point, Manko, take the leadership role on your team, and spam retreat. Because this is it's done. You guys are done down here. It is not going to happen. And you are not going to win a 5-on-4 with your Muradin who doesn't understand part of what his job on a tank is to protect the backline. Also be aware, as Thrall in this particular situation, all three of you guys should be retreating, and you should be doing the best job that you can to tank as best you can, given that the other two people with you are Valla and Brightwing. So you don't leave them. Throw out a W. And that's why. See, Muradin completely left his backline unaccounted for, and now he's going to get collapsed on. Now, granted, he did some work on Kerrigan, but if this Kerrigan is smart, she shouldn't have even been down there that long. She should have just waited.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, the Muradin took Skullcracker, which fine. You can, yeah, he got the Kerrigan. Big whoop. This is one of those situations where it comes down to, okay, I'm in silver. I know from the first 3 minutes or so that my Muradin is trash, for another word, and he's just not adjusting to the fact that he doesn't have a lot of the talents that he wants to. If this were me, if that were me in that situation right there, what I would have done is actually gone up to the top to help Sylvanas. I know that this temple down here is not going to happen for my team.
Yeah,
that's fine. Every single objective does not need to be fought over if it means that you're going to die afterwards. In that case, fine. Go help Sylvanas get sight. Go help her grab both of those siege camps. And look, get push on keep already. Get some pressure up on the top lane. Make them respond to something else that you are doing. And hey, maybe they'll pull out of that temple. As soon as they do, or as soon as they split, that's how you know when to dip. That's when you know when to leave.
And furthermore, you know, if Red Team would have simply conceded the temple and soaked all three lanes, they probably, even though they would have been lost, they lose structurally. Experience-wise, they probably come out ahead. 3 lanes worth of soak versus 1 temple. The 3 lanes worth of soak comes out a little bit ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to imagine sometimes, too, what you are pushing versus what you are not pushing. They were getting value on keep.
That was really well done, Manko. Really well done there.
Yeah, that was well done. And I would like to see their right, too, the E before the W. You already had a stun. You don't need to follow up route until you get right up close and get your follow through proc on the E.
Now at this point, the laning phase is pretty much over. I want to see you rotate down here for this 3-on-2, because you make it a 4-on-2 and you can get there before any help gets there. So that's where I'd like to see you go. There you go. Perfect.
Ooh, Johanna's just absolutely abandoned Oriole down there too.
Yeah. The main thing, there's a couple things I'm gonna suggest for now. Right here, I was gonna say peel for your team a little bit, but she's dead. There's nothing you're doing to save her right there. And this goes back to a map awareness thing. So make sure, especially with a Varian and a Kerrigan and an Oriole with the Leeming, is a blow up comp. They want to pick somebody, lock them down, and blow them up. Hey, Nashable, how's it going? And thanks for like the 15 replays. I did get them all. So you really got to be aware of map awareness. So let's focus on that. And then also, when you're the off tank, which is what Manko is playing in this comp, I want you to start selectively tanking for your team in certain situations and seeing if you can save somebody's life particularly. There have been two times in this game where I think you might have been able to. So start looking for those opportunities. Because you're a pretty conservative player so far, which is fantastic. No unnecessary deaths. But now we can start upping that a little bit to maybe save some of your teammates from themselves. See, like right here, you're too far back. You should be in front of Valla and in front of Brightwing.
Oh yeah, this is our good buddy Kodadius. He keeps visiting us.
Yep.
Regular around here.
Yep. We played a couple games with him too.
Yeah, it's always a disconnect when you play. When
the
have a different name.
The Twitch name is different. Yeah. So I would say so far, Menko, the main weakness I see in this game with the Thrall in particular is your role within the context of a large team fight. You're playing in the position of more of a squishier ranged assassin and less in the position of a more durable melee assassin.
Now, okay, maybe this is a good time to talk about responses to your team. This is something that all three of you guys just decided to go do this temple, while Muradin decided to chase this Leeming that's down here. Both of these were really, really good ideas. Temple, obviously, you want to get the temple. It's this map's objective. It's the most important thing that's going to be happening. Great, go get it, go do it. Muradin, guess what he did? He decided he wanted the pick. He decided he wanted to go do something else of value. Also a really good idea. Li Ming is a crazy snowball hero. She does a lot of damage. There's a lot of good things about being able to pick off a Li Ming. But what the team decided to do is both of these good ideas at the same time. Now, I'm not saying that you and all three of you should have left the temple to go help that Muradin chase down the Li Ming. Seeing where she's at now, it might have been a good idea, but when you are dealing with people, especially in these kinds of leagues where they're just all over the place, you kind of want to try to enable your team to do the things that they want to do, even if you don't agree with them all the time. And I say that fully well knowing the situation arises specifically right here, because all five of you guys were up there at the same time, and you could have gotten that pick had everybody turned around.
And yeah,
that's something that's super hard to coordinate in a Hero League environment.
And I'm gonna you touched on it briefly, and this is something we've said, but I don't think we've said enough. I think the hardest thing to do. Oh, by the way, leadership, Menko. I want to see you know map awareness. And let your team know Kerrigan is coming, maybe with a danger ping, something like that. I mean, they'll probably okay because it's 3-on-1, but just be aware of that. The hardest thing I think to do in Team League, or in Hero League, I'm sorry, is get your team all moving in the same direction. So if there's things that you can do within the context of the game to get your team moving in the same direction and build confidence in each other, you should always do those things, unless, of course, it's just an absolutely terrible idea. So grouping for a pick, like if you guys got Li Ming, that's this. Although Menko is, I think this isn't where you should be. We're gonna take stock here, laning down here when it's level 13. I would like to see you up, maybe putting pressure here. This keep is close to dead, but either way with your teammates, and in some context rather than solo laning down here.
I think the thought process behind it was just clear the lane, get the XP, which is totally fine. There's better things out there to be doing.
Yep.
That's all. That kind of feedback is. It's not you were doing the wrong thing, but there are better things for you to be doing out there.
And this is, I think, one of the most dangerous spots in lower league, right when heroes are spawning. And what happened here was you guys got 2 kills, and then your team broke off into 2 groups to put pressure on the map, which is fantastic. You've gotten pressure in the top lane and pressure in the mid lane. But what both of these groups now need to realize, and it looks like the top group does, I don't know if the middle does, now that the enemy team is in full spawn, both of these groups individually are vulnerable and they need to back up. And this actually I like, Menko, because if you realize that they were vulnerable, a lot of times giving your team something else to do will group them up. And if you're saying, hey, do this camp, that gives them something else to do. Muradin and Vala here don't seem to realize how vulnerable they are. You can actually see the team collapsing on them.
Yeah, that's okay. So that's one of those things where we were talking about. You cleared boss, great job. You went and cleared the lane, fine. I'm thinking next objective, get with my team.
Yep. And I think he was pinging up there to try to get them over here, though.
And yeah, and well, that's the thing, right? We want to get this camp. We want to get some push up there. That's fine. But a higher priority in that case would have been to physically walk over, mount up over to where your team is. And that way this weird retreat fight doesn't happen where you're behind the wall, your Vala and your Sylvanas are super isolated. Because essentially what you guys could have done is had a neutral fight that would have saved Brightwing in this case. If you had decided to go over to that mid where 2 of your other teammates were, or maybe it was 3, no, it was 2, instead of just positioning up by this camp that you want to get, it would have solved a lot of the problems of that team fight there, where it was retreating, where it was a 4-on-3 most of the time, where Brightwing's the first one to go down. So I don't think that they should have been there in the first place, and I would completely agree, and I could see that argument. But it's your job in a team-based team like this to enable, like I'm going to say it over and over again, to enable your team to do the things that they feel are necessary. And just because it's probably your wrong decision, doesn't make it a bad idea for you to go actually help them with that, because your presence there can actually turn that around. It can make the difference between how that outcome occurs. So I don't necessarily disagree with your position to want to get that camp in the first place, but that's something that you ping after you know that you guys are losing that team fight, right? You go help them, and then things are going wrong. Okay, fine, let's ping retreat, let's go ping the bruiser camp, and then that gives my team, like you said, like Brian just said, something else to do, something else to think about in the first place. That's not just fight all the time.
Now, something I've tried to do a lot, and it's helped my map awareness. That was my biggest issue with this game when I was trying to climb out of the lower leagues, is my own map awareness. And I found one of the things that helped me was trying to be aware for my teammates. It helped a lot. If I were in this game about 30 seconds ago, I would have danger pinged and retreat pinged Sylv as much as it would let me, because she is in such prime position to be picked off, and I want her teammates to let her know that, because she may not realize it. So I would like to see some pings help your team out there. Secondly, I think it would be really beneficial, Manko, for you to try to go back and watch this again on your own and explicitly pay attention, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, to in this game, your positioning within the context of group team fights. In my opinion, the hardest role to pull off effectively in a 5-on-5 traditional team fight is the off tank. Because generally, you're a hero that should be in the front line, but the tanks can almost be invincible sometimes. The off tanks a lot of times are not. Thrall is not invincible, although he is durable, which means your decision making really, really has to be on point. In this game, though, there were so many times where Sylvanas and Vala were in front of you, which could be on them, but I think in this game it was about 50-50. Sometimes it was on them, and sometimes it was on you for being too far back. You really need to form a good, solid, cohesive front line for your squishies to hide behind, and you do that with Muradin.
And that's something that, you know, the title of his email may have given us a little bit of a hint of what he deals with down here.
Look what happened. What did I say?
Yeah, she got picked off. I mean, yeah, that was anybody with you know, half a positional mind could figure out that was coming from a mile away. Yep. Nobody can get out of a rotational gank.
And by the way, on the flip side, if I'm blue team, I'm doing the same thing for Li Ming right here. Like, what in the hell are you doing? Get out of there.
That is one of those things, too, where all 4 of you should just be abandoning Temple and going to kill that lead.
Somebody saying, look.
Like, I fully understand that this is an objective-based game, that objectives are the key to winning, because it literally just happened to me in a Team League game, but there is no excuse for not punishing somebody.
And Thrall, I want to see you come off the point right at this point. I want you off the point and up here, fighting with them, because then it's a 4-on-3 and this is a team fight. You win. At this point, step off of the objective and come up here.
Yeah, the one thing about this map that a lot of people don't understand is that the temples will always be there. You can literally...
There you go.
The first temple spawns and never get them, and they will never, ever go away. This is not a timed thing that happens. somebody has to enable it, somebody has to get it, or it won't go away. So just get off the point, go do something else.
Sideways, juke sideways for the combo. Intentionally or unintentionally, Manko, that running retreat you just had there was your best off-tank positioning because you ate so much damage that Sylve or Vala would have eaten otherwise, and you're alive. So, I mean, that was really well played. When we're evaluating our teammates here, Sylve is obviously kind of doing her own thing, so that's just something you have to take into account. And specifically with Varian, in both Mitchell and my experience, people do not know how to play Varian. When I am the tank or the off-tank, I am explicitly evaluating the enemy Varian to see if they overdive, which so many of them do, and you can absolutely punish them. So keep an eye on this Varian. If he dives too far, you sunder him right in the middle of your team and you guys explode him. He has no escape and no durability.
You know, part of what's happening in this game is partly...
There you go. That's what I'm talking about with the Varian.
That's exactly what had been needed to happening this leading up to like pretty much all of these team fights. It feels like the Brightwing's not paying attention to him enough, and she's literally up there with her tank and her off tank. She's got a huge range on her heal. She should never ever be that close. She's got blink heal, so she can get in on somebody if she really needs to. But the Brightwing is the ultimate Varian counter. I literally just experienced that in a game I just played half an hour ago.
Yeah, I mean, and specifically on Thrall, man, if you're going to go against a Varian and he dives just a half a step too deep, you sunder him right into your own team, Brightwing polymorphs him, and you guys wreck him.
Absolutely.
So really watch that Varian. That's going to be the vulnerable hero, I think, on the enemy team here. It's going to be that Varian. And I like your positioning here. In front, Muradin is anchoring. This is really good positioning by everybody on your team, other than I would like to see Vala up in here more.
Now,
sideways.
The one thing that I'm going to say about that
nice sundering.
Is the temple. I would agree, for the most part, the positioning was really good, except you were standing on the temple. First of all, it activates the temple. It lets them know where the other team is, but I believe that you guys are under sight, so it doesn't matter anyways. But that temple will start to attack the nearest people to it, which actually happen to be your team. So this whole engagement ends up being favorable for you guys, which is great. You guys did a really good job here, actually. That was a really great sundering. But just a small thing for future, be right where that Muradin is right now before that engagement happens, right? So like all the way back all those few seconds ago where Muradin was in that bush, Brightwing was in the other bush, you should be just right in between them, waiting to respond to that Muradin. Being up in that temple just makes them lets them know where you are. It starts a PvE on you. It starts to have something attack you, and that's not something that you want to have to deal with when you're dealing with a team fight. It's something I forget about all the time. It's something that you see up in gold and plat constantly, but it's just something to watch out for.
And what I was going to say is everything I was asking you to do in team fights with regards to positioning and forming a solid front line in an engagement with Muradin, you did in this battle. You and Muradin were 100% on the same page. You guys were both attacking the same targets. You both took look at the damage on your backline right now. They didn't take very much damage because you and Muradin were eating all of it, which is exactly what you guys should have been doing. This was definitely yours and your team's highlight of this match. Was this team fight was really well executed.
And once you get the kill on a Varian here,
now don't chase. Don't chase. Now you just go get the temple. Actually, I would prefer boss then temple.
Damn it, took the words right out of my mouth.
Boss then temple.
The thing about this is, like we said before, the temple's going to be there. It's not going anywhere. Boss is going to be more valuable.
And Li Ming and Ariel have no boss stealing mechanics whatsoever.
Exactly.
However, if you're not going to do that, send like Vala or Sylvanas to clear that top lane.
And get camps too. If you guys aren't going to get boss, fine. Get some pressure elsewhere. Take
which Silva's doing right now.
Get
Perfect. A little late, but good.
Yeah, get an advantage for yourself and/or take away resources from the other team. But getting 3 kills like that and just popping everybody onto that temple is kind of a waste of
And now
everything.
I like where his head is at, but look at the split once again.
Yeah, you know what, Thrall? You don't need to help Sylph, ever. Sylph will take care of herself unless it's a rotational game. If she's getting a temple, or if she's getting a camp, I can't speak tonight.
Now, that boss ping is a terrible idea. Whoever is doing that.
That's PvE, you don't need to help her. You know who you do need to help? You need to help the Vala, the Brightwing, and the Muradin, who are right there in the thick of things.
Yeah, I like that they're grouping up here.
Nobody saw Sylvanas. Nobody necessarily could have gotten her. So know who you need to stay with too. Yeah, the boss calls ridiculous right there. That
now look, your Muradin is way far out. That's a great rain by Vala though, and I want to see you save that Sundering. I didn't like that Sundering. Yeah. Now what went wrong here, Mitchell?
You're gonna have to back it up because I get crazy lag for this screen share.
All right, we're gonna back it up just a tiny bit. First things first.
It's definitely a split engagement.
That was the number one thing. Right now, like, you guys are 20, they're 18. But the one time you want to consider taking an engagement, we're speaking from blue team's perspective here, is if they're 20 and you're 18, but you're 5-on-4, that's when you would actually think about it.
But what did you just say, Brian? 5-on-4, right?
Right.
Not chasing down a Kerrigan with full shields. Now, that's the thing about this. So much of this game is on this Muradin.
It really is. It really is.
So, yeah.
Okay, so problem number one with this engagement, and this is the kind of things that you can really see coming a mile away, and I would danger, retreat, all of those pings would be coming out right here. I mean, at some point you have to follow Muradin in, but this isn't that point. Problem number one, Sylva's nowhere to be found, and red team needs to realize that. Problem number two is Muradin dives in to try to engage. Let's say he lands his Q on the perfect target, hits his W, body blocks him in this corner, and everything goes perfectly. None of that matters because Vala is too far away, Thrall is way too far away, Brightwing is even further away. So problem number two was the fact that Muradin tried to engage in the first place.
Muradin's stop engaging with Dwarf Toss. Battle momentum no longer reduces the cooldown of it. It is your escape with a resistant built into it. You don't have, first of all, you don't have half your team there, but stop engaging with your escape. I see this on Anub'arak in the same way all the time. Do not engage with your burrow. It's not one of those end-all be-all things where you can never ever do it. Obviously, you can do it. If you're about to get a kill, go for it. Do it, please. Get the kill. But you have to know when you can and cannot do it. Any time that you are on the chase is a time that you cannot do it.
I will tell you, as Muradin, the time to engage with your Dwarf Toss is not the initial initiation, which is what this is, right? This is the initiation that's starting a team fight. That is not when you Dwarf Toss. When you Dwarf Toss is to get away, number one, to pursue, number two, or in a team fight that's already in full 5-on-5, everybody is going crazy mode. In the middle of that, if you want to pop your avatar and dive into 4 people for that double W healing static, that is okay. I know, but that's a secondary engagement. Do not use it on the initial initiation of a 5-on-5. And a pickoff maybe, but not a team fight.
Yeah, when I say that, that's exactly what I'm talking about. The initial getting a team fight started should never happen with an ability that's meant to get you into out of harm's way.
Now, at this point, Manko, you kind of threw a Sundering out, didn't get much done. I really want to see it saved for the Varian engagement because he does so much blow up. I want to see, at this point, it's almost done. You guys should all be pinging your retreat and nobody should be going in here. So Muradin dives in. That's problem number two. Now, that's a really nice Rain of Vengeance by Vala. She throws down her damage on Li Ming, and then she needs to get out because she's vulnerable, but she's trying to help Muradin, which is all great. That Rain of Vengeance is the best thing about this engagement. See?
But I believe she overcommits and sends out another one.
Maybe. I think Manko was trying to finish off that Li Ming, but it ends up whiffing because of the teleport. And once that's done, you leave the door open for the Varian. There's the Varian, and there's the blow up.
And there's that hard condemn. I mean, that you guys just couldn't get away from.
Yep. It was the falling sword into the condemn.
Yeah.
Okay, now what I want to see from Muradin here, one of these two heroes is going to die. The only thing that when you may make something out of this is if Muradin gives himself up and goes the other way and maybe pulls a couple people with him, and Brightwing gets away. That's what I want to see. But as long as they're both running together, they're both going to die. But look who showed up. Now, what I expect...
I don't even think he was starting to make her way down there.
What I think I would expect to see here is, Sylve, where are you? Sylve, where are you? And that is true. But the next question should be, why are you engaging without her? Don't engage without her. That is a map awareness issue. I don't know what Sylve thinks she's doing right here, but whatever she thinks she's doing is a terrible idea. This is what's called making it worse. She is not going to do anything here except for possibly get herself killed.
You know where she is going to be doing something? Pushing with that camp she got up
in the top lane, for sure.
Keep pulling people away from what they want to be doing in the first place, which is boss, and getting something of value. A keep in any game is a huge amount of value. That's when Katas come into play.
Yeah, maybe she exactly, man. Maybe she ninjas her way up to that top lane, and the boss pops. Kerrigan, you know where everybody on blue team is. You've got a good 10 seconds. You can push that top tower. And then look what happens in 10 seconds. Thrall comes up, Vala comes up. You get 10 seconds of push on that keep. You hide in a bush, you hearth back, and you're popping up right as your teammate is.
And this is maybe something I shouldn't say because this is a little bit advanced. Sometimes dying is worth getting a keep. I'm just going to put it out there.
Especially if it's the first one. And by the way, that was a bad idea, Sylve. She got out, but it was still a bad idea. She wasted a wailing. What's the cooldown on Wailing Arrow? Long. What did it do? Nothing. Do not waste that Wailing Arrow. All you did now is because when you have these long death timers, usually when your teammates are spawning, their heroics are all off cooldown. So now what Sylve did is she staggered her heroic timer with the rest of her team. So what are we doing here? The answer is the boss. Your team needs to come. Manko's got the right idea. I want to see more pings. Leadership and pinging. Now, what you guys should be... You guys will burn this boss down fast. Then I want to see you... What you'll see in a minute from blue team is you'll see them on both temples. That means if you group invade one of them, you're at a numbers advantage. So I want to see red team burn down the boss and then group invade, probably mid because they can get there faster. And don't go through the vision if you can avoid it. You just, right here, red team just gave away their whole game plan and got dismounted.
Yeah, that's something that I think that you and I would disagree on just in a micro kind of fashion right there. You said mid because it's closer. I would have said top. I would have known that there was no sight on that specific temple. It takes longer for the team who's getting the temple at mid to get to top than it does for top to get to mid. And at the same time, okay, now see, this is the other thing too. Look at Sylve opponents.
Yeah, they've already called her out on it too. Now, taking this fight is not terrible because it's a 4-on-4, so it's not the end of the world, but Sylve really needs to be up here. And by the way, you know what would have been nice right here? Sylve with a Wailing Arrow.
Absolutely. And this is also something where you don't see adjustments as well. We already have been condemned into a falling sword once this game, and you still see the Brightwing hanging out by the Muradin. You still see the Vala hanging out by the Muradin.
And what we don't see is Thrall by the Muradin. We need to see Thrall by the Muradin.
He was the only one. Well, no, but in that instance, he was the only one who figured it out.
Nice Sunder.
Some of those cooldowns
nice Sunder and nice follow-up on Ariel.
Right. Wait till the cooldowns are gone and then follow up with your team. That was the right move there, I think.
Now, you guys did okay there. 2 for 1 is not terrible. Colossus Smash Varian, the upgrade on the 20 is a group vulnerable. So you really need to be aware of that. Really need to be aware of that group vulnerability. Yeah, for sure. Oh, yeah, for sure. Now,
This is something. Oh my goodness.
This should be disengaged right here. You guys should have disengaged 5 seconds ago. Manko, you specifically, look how far forward you are and look how isolated you are from your teammates.
If I'm Kerrigan, I am so hungry.
Oh, yeah, dude. You get the bloodlust.
So well. I'm going to eat so well here. This is one of those things where you have to understand what just
now, nice done. Nice job there, Manko. That was nice.
You guys may have killed the Oreo, which is great.
And Vala, I don't know why she re-engaged there. Vala was 100% going to get away, and then she dove back in there.
Sylvanas and Brightwing died there. There was no reason to keep chasing.
Now, range damage dealers know that your job is not to save Muradin. Muradin's job is to save you. Vala, I think, went in there trying to help Muradin. Muradin didn't need the help. Just get out. If your tanks die, most of the time, that's on them. Nice job by Muradin there. I'm not sure what blue is doing here. Oh, they're all pretty low on life. I think they're just trying to get minions in here. Get the Kerrigan, Muradin. See, now you guys, you know what, let's take stock of this real quick. Even though, as red team, I think this game at this point is feeling bad because all of your keeps are down, the lanes are pushed, but look at the other side. They have 2 of the 3 keeps down. 1 team fight, and red can win this game. So, I mean, all is definitely not lost by any stretch of the imagination.
And this, you know, okay, the rest of the team, stop helping Sylv.
Right.
At this point.
I'm kind of surprised I haven't seen a Sylv please stay with us yet.
Yeah, me too. I'm the first one to say that Sylv should always be pushing with somebody.
Now, by the way, this is a good place for Sylv right here.
Look what you guys just did. You guys helped somebody who is perfectly capable of clearing out waves from core by themselves, and you guys gave away 2 siege camps that you could have actually gotten. You could have gotten some kills there, and instead what you decided to do is help your teammates clear something that didn't need to be helped, essentially. There was, I think, 1.5 waves right there at core, which could have been cleared in no time by a Sylvanas. And what you guys want to do is look for opportunities to make it happen. The 3 of you, 4 of you, needed to bounce straight to your siege camp, because guess what? You guys would have killed both Kerrigan and Li Ming. Oriel was close to base and Johanna was up atop clearing. You guys could have killed, gotten that keep or that camp, and possibly even the other camp on the other side of there.
And 2 kills at this point could be game too.
Exactly.
What I will say here, Muradin is a 100% right, and I like what red team is doing, except Vala and Sylv are actually coming up right now. I want to see Muradin just, like, stop for 6 seconds.
Just be patient.
Just wait. Just wait.
Everybody needs to watch the Chew 8 Hot Dodge set that happened this weekend.
Oh, so good.
The patience that was exhibited by them was bar none. I have never seen patience like that. And every single time that they were patient, it paid off. Why? Because they waited for their team. They waited for the right moment. Yep. They waited to take stock of the situation.
They would wait and lose the objective to win the fight.
Yeah, and that's what matters.
They would lose the battle to win the war.
Enough.
Yeah. There's 2 things that's wrong with this. I think I haven't watched this. I assume Muradin is just going to dive in because he has been all game. The reason that's bad is, 1, because you're diving in without 2 of your primary damage dealers, Vala specifically. But 2, what's going to happen when Muradin dives in is Vala and Sylv are going to feel obligated to get there as quick as they can, and they're going to run straight through this minion wave here, and then you have a split engagement. If Muradin would just wait 6 seconds, they could safely join the back line behind Thrall and Muradin, and then you guys have a nice, clean 5-on-5 engagement. You win it, you win the game. Any bets that Muradin just dives in?
100%.
And there he goes. Look, in the middle of 5 people. Look at this. You know what? And Thrall and Brightwing both saw it. The only
that was one of those things too where If he had been patient, one of two things could have happened, right? The rest of his team could have joined him, or the Vala and the Sylvanas that go to clear that lane in mid could be jumped on by the blue team in this case, and then Muradin gets a perfect jump in on the back line, gets a Seething Static, pops his avatar, does all of his goodness to distract half of that team. That's how you want to use Dwarf Toss to engage.
And
you
what,
do not just do it just to do it and get out there and start making things happen, because this is what you do. You force the rest of your team to make optimized
decisions.
Thank you. And it just throws everything into chaos. So I mean,
and by the way, exactly what I said would happen
so much on Muradin.
happened. Vala went straight to the fight because she felt rushed to get there. Sylve actually still rotated around the safe way, but look at where Vala is because she had to rush in. She's going to get Colossus smashed, and she's going to die in probably about 2 seconds.
Body language.
And you know what? Muradin is actually doing a nice job of wreaking havoc in there, but the problem is the way that he initiated, if he would have done the exact same thing 6 seconds later, it probably would have been a pretty good initiation. Then people are going to group up around Muradin. You get the healing arrow, you get the sundering, or the wailing arrow. And by the way, where is the wailing arrow? She used it. I don't know where.
She just popped it in the worst possible moment.
Oh, okay.
I would have loved to see that, as soon as she got...
Now this game's over.
But, yeah.
This game's over.
So much of this game was on Muradin.
It really was. It really, really was. But definitely things for Mako to work on, specifically in relation to your role as the off-tank within the team fight. You had one really, really good 5-on-5 teammate where you were like just where you should have been. But there were a lot of these where you were a little bit too conservative, a little bit too far back, and I'd like to see you have a little bit more faith in your decision-making and Thrall's durability.
Look, can we get a death update here for Mako?
Yes, let me pause this. 2 deaths.
Two times.
Yeah, 2 deaths. I think you're
not bad.
No, that's great. 2 is great. I think everybody would take it. If you could say you only die twice every game, every time you played Heroes, you're probably in a pretty good spot.
Yeah.
But I think you were just there were a number of situations where you were just a little too conservative with your positioning. That's all. And a couple of the deaths of maybe some of your teammates, like Brightwing, I think one in particular, and Vala had one in particular, where maybe you could have saved them by eating a little bit of damage. Eating a little bit of damage for him, throwing out a disengaging Feral Wolf. That's the only time you want to use the naked Feral Wolf is when you're throwing it out as a peel. And maybe save a teammate. So that would be the main thing I would say, Mako. A little more leadership. Use those pings when you know your team is making a poor decision. Really try to herd the cats. It's really tough sometimes. But also,
don't be afraid to tell that Muradin to calm down.
Yeah.
Either. I have done this a ton of times.
I have too.
League. It's just tell somebody to make one small adjustment, and you don't have to say stop going so ham. You don't have to say stop being a retard. You don't have to say anything other than, hey, Muradin, next time wait for the whole team.
Yeah.
Something that easily, and maybe he will get it, maybe he won't, but at least you try.
Yeah, just say, hey, Muradin, give us another 5 seconds. We're there, but you're a little quick on the trigger for us. Anything simple just to let him know. Calm down a little bit, man. Relax. But, Mako, I really do think from playing with you and watching your 2 replays, I think something gets lost in all the MMR hell thing is going higher in Hero League is a grind. It really, really is a grind. Stick with it. I really think you'll get out of there. I think you've got... Mechanically, you're already good enough to get out of there. So polish a few things and you'll start climbing a little faster. That's all.
Don't do your placements in the first week. Don't do your placements.
In the first 2 weeks. I don't do any rank the first 2 weeks after season rollover.
There's just no point.
Yeah, dude. It's brutal. It's brutal.
Absolute chaos.
And then the
MMR hell is bad now. You have no idea.
Yeah, and well, not only that is what I like best about it is if you wait 2 weeks. People say, "Oh, the placement games don't do anything." They absolutely do. The problem is if you do them right away, you don't see the people you're getting placed with in placement to see you go up and down. If you wait the 2 weeks, you'll notice the first game you're in gold 4, and then you win, and then all of a sudden all the players with you are gold 3. And then you win again, and now there's some gold 2 and gold 1. You can actually see your progress in placement if you wait until most people have actually placed. All right, we have a gold game, a little bit more in our neighborhood. Well, mine, Mr. Platinum over here.
We shall be victorious.
I will tell you, I have noticed there is a difference between. Honestly, I think the break comes about gold 2. You start getting a little bit less silvery, I want to say.
It takes a long time.
It does. But you will notice. As you get higher, you will notice 100%. All right, so now Angel here is the guy we're doing. Here's what he says. Gold 4, near demotion. In this replay, he's duoing. So Angel is on Brightwing, and his friend is on ETC. Don't take this the wrong way, Angel. Your friend is probably going to get more from me than you will, because I don't play Brightwing, and I play an S-ton of ETC. But even still, everybody's going to learn from this. In this game, I felt like many others, I felt that there was absolutely nothing you can do to win. There's always something to improve when I play, but I just can't get that feeling that I'm ditching, losing because of my team. Okay, everybody has that feeling, and there are some games that you can't win.
I'm going to be right back.
There are some games you can't win if you just have that teammate that's feeding. But it's hard to remember this because you're not on the other side. Remember, for every one team your teammate is feeding and makes it so you can't win, for every one of those games, there's one on the other team where their guy is feeding and you can't lose. So it goes both ways. Some of those really easy wins where you're like, wow, we stomped those guys. That might have been because they had the bad teammate, right? So there are some games that are frustrating that you just can't win. But keep in mind, there are also games that are frustrating for the other team that you can't lose. And if you are actually have a higher skill level than where you were placed, you will climb. And that is because if, let's say, you're gold 4 and you got placed at silver 2, that means everybody else is getting silver 2 in your league. So that means 5 chances for a potato on the other side and only 4 chances for a potato on your own side. So if you are better, you will climb. It's just a grind. It's not fast. It really is a grind. So let's see if Angel was correct and there was nothing that they could have done, or if there were just something we can figure out on. So Angel on Brightwing, and Haney on ETC. Hanahay on ETC.
One of those things that I wasn't able to talk about just because I had to leave for a brief moment. From the email specifically, as a healer, this is something that's hard to deal with because, yeah, sometimes you're right. Sometimes there is nothing you can do. Because sometimes you literally enable people who make decisions just by being a healer. But one of the things that you will hear Chew say, one of the things that you will hear Grubby say, pretty much anybody who's anybody will always say the same exact thing. You, as an individual, must still try to improve yourself as much as possible because the best players improvise, and the best players they deal with unoptimization better than the lesser players. That's the difference. Is they can adjust. They can make those adjustments for themselves to try to be the person that the rest of the team needs to be. And that is just something that you will see going up in the ranks if you do actually end up climbing. Players adjust, and the players that adjust better end up doing better in the long run.
Now I'm going to talk about a little pre-game comp analysis that you should really be doing every game, and you should be doing this every game regardless of every role that you're in. But I think tank and healer specifically. As a tank, I play a ton of tank. This is something I'm really trying to hone in on. In the beginning of every game, I'm trying to analyze the other hero's play. And if you notice that their Jaina is constantly too far forward, that means that's your primary engagement target, right? So really evaluate the other team. You should be doing this even before play, right? So let's take ETC because that's his duo partner. ETC should be looking at the enemy team comp and saying, okay, who do we want to blow up? Who is the main target? Obviously, if you can get to Ariel, that's who you want to get to. But with the Johanna and a Raynor and a Gul'dan, that's a lot of poke and a lot of CC. It's probably going to be pretty tough to get to Ariel. And if you look at this enemy team's comp, Varian is going to be either a Colossus Smash or he's going to be Twin Blades. And Varians really like diving in. So if I'm ETC, before any gameplay, I am looking for an overextending Varian. I said it last game. That's what I'm looking for here. Now, maybe something during the course of the game will make you change your mind. You know, maybe you'll notice that Raynor is really out of position all the time. We'll blow him up. But just in the pregame analysis, if I'm ETC, I am targeting mentally the Varian, especially pre-10 because he's lame before 10. So let's go to Brightwing. Anytime you're a healer, you want to figure out who is going to get the majority of your attention. Not so much as Brightwing because she doesn't have targeted heals. And usually that's a melee assassin, of which you guys don't really have one. So in this particular comp, I honestly think ETC might get most of his attention because he's going to be solo tanking in the front and constantly subjected to Raynor's poke and Gul'dan's poke. I can tell you as an ETC player, it will be hard to hold that front line because he's going to be taking so much damage. In this particular comp, normally, I don't think the tank gets the majority of the healer's attention. In this comp, though, I think he will. And for Brightwing specifically, one of your main tools is that polymorph. You really got to be selective when you do it, especially because you're duoing with that ETC. Your target is Varian. Power slide the overextending Varian, and every time Colossus Smash goes out, every time he comes in with Twin Blades, that's your polymorph target. You really almost shouldn't be polymorphing anybody else except for under very specific reasons. Varian is your primary polymorph target this game.
Jaina's, stop wasting your Blizzard on the wave. That is ridiculous. There are 2 people in front of you who can take advantage of the fact that you just blew your #1 damage dealing ability and a very high cooldown ability at the same time. Okay, there, again, Angel, body language, right? You wanted to engage on the Gul'dan right there because he's super low. First of all, Gul'dan has excellent self-sustain, which he just used on you there. Second of all, actually, you know what? First of all, your Jaina was backing up. I don't care who you are. If you are laning against somebody like Johanna with somebody else just because somebody's low, you're not going to get them. I can guarantee you, you will be stopped along the way, and you won't have the tools to deal with them. So save your cooldowns, save your mana for those guaranteed engagements rather than just trying to get some pressure out there just to get it.
Now, I'm going to talk about Jaina and the wave clear specifically. Normally, if you're one-on-one with Jaina in a lane, if I'm Jaina, I drop the Blizzard on the wave, and I just back up. Because most heroes don't have the clear to compete with it, and you don't burn a lot of mana. You can just slowly win the lane. One Blizzard, back up. Next wave, one Blizzard, back up. You're going to be safe. You're going to be high on mana and health. However, when there's a JoJo and a Gul'dan, you're not out-pushing those two.
It's just not going to happen. And that's one of those places where I would be conservative and just use the Cone of Cold to help get some damage out.
Sure. And also,
because they're cheap.
Most people don't realize Cone of Cold is actually Jaina's highest single target damage spell.
Yes, it is.
I mean, obviously, all 3 waves are more than 1 Cone of Cold, but 1 Cone of Cold is more than 1 wave of Blizzard.
But that's the problem. You want to get the slow out there before you blow that Blizzard. You want to get some sort of other initiation on there. You want to get your trait procced. You want to start getting extra damage on your Qs out there. So, I mean, it's just one of those things where you just have to be smart about how you choose to use your abilities.
Now, props to Blue Team. I like everybody's here on time except for Tychus. Props to ETC, right in the front where he should be. For the most part, everybody has full health. Everybody has a pretty good supply of mana. At this point, see, okay, Tychus is leading, and this is what you don't want to see. If he, at this point, I would rather him just stay and soak the top lane with low health and mana. However, Blue Team needs to be, they can see that Ariel's going to be late, and if they were paying attention, they know Varian is going to be late. So they have a very small window to try to get this before Red Team arrives. Very small. So they need to be a little bit aggressive. Now, Li Ming is going to intercept people. That's not bad. On the Ariel, So ETC a little far forward, and double mages is going to be tough for ETC to protect. I would like to focus on our Jaina, because Jaina and ETC synergize so well together. Li Ming can kind of get her own shot a little bit easier. She's more mobile. She can work the angles a little better. Jaina is not mobile, doesn't have long range, so she needs you to set up her combos for you. So Haney, really focus on setting up Jaina for success. Li Ming is a little less dependent on you setting her up. But look at the poke on ETC. Remember what I said? The poke on ETC?
The thing about ETC is he's probably the squishiest of the main three. He has the least amount of tools of the main three tanks that we consider the main three in the game to deal with, because Hamony just there used his Q to engage to close a gap. He used his E almost immediately once he got in there, and it's like you said, he wasn't paying attention to the people that he wanted to set up in the first place.
Got it, those Qs.
His Jaina.
Now, I will say props to Blue Team. Even though they lost the objective, nobody died. They didn't do anything silly. They just kind of backed up. And that is one of the differences, by the way, between gold and silver. Is just, okay, well, let's go. Angel, you're in a really dangerous spot there with 2 people.
Yeah, this is something we'll say all the time. And actually, you just did it. Back up.
Yep.
Wait for the wave. You don't need to go crazy. Just because the wave is there, you'll soak it eventually.
Your objective in lane is not to die and soak the experience. Anything else is bonus.
Yeah, you did it perfectly right there. That's something that we don't see a lot of here.
Now, here, do not rotate the front way because you're Brightwing. Rotate the back way. Also, Blue Team, this is perfect timing on this camp. Hopefully, Tychus will actually show up on time this time. Let's see how this goes.
You know, and even if he doesn't, he actually did a really good job of delaying the Varian who's up there, getting into a one-on-one with him. Which, if you're a Varian, don't ever get on a one-on-one beat Tychus. He'll kill you.
Yep, especially pre-10.
Yeah. And you just did it exactly what we said not to do. You rotated the hard way.
Yep, and look, and now you're separated from your team because of it, because you can't get down there. If you went the safe way, you would be right back here with them and helping ETC. He's just getting poked down.
You have to know what the other team is looking for in terms of positioning to delay and where they're going to be. 9 times out of 10, that stupid bush that's right there, and you need to be cognizant of that.
You touched on it briefly, and I'm going to emphasize that point. If you are going to be late to an objective for whatever reason, I'm backing it up because I want to point something out. If you are going to be late to an objective for whatever reason, that's not the end of the world. So, but let's talk about Tychus in this top lane here. He was up here. He was late. He was battling with Varian, right? So they're in the middle lane. They're duking out. You have the Giants up here. If Tychus keeps Varian from coming down here and pushes the lane with Giants, that's totally okay. You have a 4-on-4 down there. So if you're going to be late and you can keep the enemy from doing it, that's great too. I've also done it where I'm in this lane here and I'm somebody who can do this, so maybe a tank or a more durable mobile character, and you're 2v1ing, right? So you guys are up here, and then this objective spawns in the top lane. I have come down here and dismounted and harassed them and then retreated, so that way they have 2 people late coming and I am only 1 late coming. So there are ways to make the late rotation work for you. You just got to be intelligent about it.
I'm going to be contrarian there as well and say, you know what? Why didn't Tychus just stay up there and push?
I said that in the first time. At that point, you're so late. Why not just stay up there?
Get some value. We talk about the concept of value all the time, and there's no value in being late to an objective.
Especially this late.
Anyways, it sucks because, yeah, he should have been there in the first place, and yeah, maybe it would have been better, but I just understand your positioning and understand what is and isn't going to happen at any given moment, and understand how you can add value to what your team needs to have happen, which is, of course, getting closer to the core.
You really get punished for this at higher levels, and that's why I think it happens so much at the lowers. For this reason, is rotating in a position that puts you invulnerable. We already saw Brightwing do it and get split from your team. I really hope Tychus goes the safe way. I don't know where he's going right now, but this is what I wanted to point out. Watch this Li Ming. Right here. Those magic missiles should not be going on Johanna. Look at these great angles on the back line here, man. Oh, right, it's perfect. Well, not even Ariel?
Yeah. I mean, you know, anybody. Literally anybody.
Now,
but Johanna.
She needs to be careful with the Varian on the Warbringer jumping on her, but this is a perfect flanking spot for this backline, man. drive this Ariel away. And Tychus, of course, is positioning himself. Look at Red's positioning relative to Blue's. And Red's positioning, Johanna in front, tanking the damage. Backline in back, poking out the damage with the flanking Varian. Blue team had a Brightwing who had to come in the back way, and because of that, ETC had to eat a ton of free damage. Had a late rotating Tychus who is still not in a position to support his team, and a Li Ming who is putting her damage on Johanna instead of the backline.
You know, not only the Brightwing not only had to be late and rotate the hard way, she had to go back and then Z in on the ETC as he stood there still just absorbing.
What is Tychus doing? And now the Merc camps are aggroed. This is when I want to see the retreat pings come out. Because it's done. You guys have lost it. It's totally gone. I'm going to bet Tychus dies here.
And you know, this is a perfect example of why not just push, because he showed up late, did nothing.
And literally did nothing.
Absolutely nothing. Maybe he didn't die, sure, but he would have gotten so much more. He could have had two
he got the front wall down. Yeah,
right,
he could have the front wall down.
Gotten that entire front wall on the top there by himself with that siege camp.
And look,
there's just no reason.
Look at the experience count right now, right? They would be up in experience by
even
probably a good
kills.
By a pretty wide margin. This is something I want to see tank players do. I said it in the first thing I said was ETC is going to have a hard time holding this front line, right? And look what's happening. He simply can't hold it. So that's something the team needs to make an adjustment with. ETC in this game is not going to be able to just stand in the front line and wait for his spot. He is going to have to pick somebody and isolate him. You guys have to eat them alive with Jaina and Li Ming. If you can't do that, Blue will lose this game. This is one of those things that's analyzing comps in the get-go. ETC cannot hold this front line against Gul'dan and Raynor.
That is until 13, and Tychus becomes Tankus with that's the stuff, should he choose to take that talent.
So everyone going back to lanes, that's good. So I like this. Angel is just safely soaking. They put a little damage onto ice.
This is all fairly, not sure what that was about.
I think he was going to go back for mana and then change his mind. The thing is, when you're not that low in mana, you can simply stop using abilities and actually charge your mana up to the point where you'll be okay.
Mana regens, health regens, globes are amazing now.
Yep. Do
not discount the value of globes. If you're ever towards 50%, just get 3 globes, and you are now at, what's that, 73%? So, there's just no reason.
Now, props to ETC, by the way, he started moving as soon as he saw it. Tychus is here on time. This time, Li Ming is late, but Varian's in the way. This is the target. Look at this.
Varian, 100%.
This is when the polymorph on the Varian, you catch him in a blizzard. Between Li Ming, right behind him, Tychus, you guys have to get Varian here. Oh, no. Wreck him! Oh, no, Angel! Oh, that was your chance!
Talk about at the end of the last
now, I guess they're kind of seeding this tribute. If he doesn't get it, that was a huge mistake. That was a huge mistake.
Patience. It's all that's required right there. Just patience. Stay still. Tribute pops. Guess what?
Now, he did get it, so not the end of the world.
Okay, but nobody from your team was on the tribute, right? Brightwing moved to get on it, but guess what? Nobody from the other team was on it either, right? Which means that they are somewhere else that's not behind that tribute right there. And you had sight on 3 of them. You knew that Varian was at top and had to rotate down there. Patience. Don't show, don't do anything other than just wait to see what happens, and maybe we can catch a Varian face checking this bush right now and blow his face up. Instead, we decide to have a split engagement. ETC goes in. You can only do so much as a Brightwing, and you have to dip out as soon as you possibly can.
Now, you get the trib.
3 members go down.
Which is fantastic. However, if you guys would have killed the Varian, it pretty much would have ensured you get the trib anyway.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
you may have beaten them to level 10.
Exactly.
I mean, you guys absolutely need 10. And that was the right decision, by the way. You soak 10 and blink down. 100%. Once again, ETC, he's always reporting on time, so props to him. Team is late, though. And now he needs to back up. And Jaina here. Okay, backline squishies, you cannot stay that close to Varian. He has point and click lockdown. It is just inviting to get killed. Jaina was way too close to Varian.
Can we take a look at what Brybwing's doing up there? Because I'm pretty sure she's pinging the camp.
She got the camp, I assume, with Bribe? She go Bribe?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
And then Blink healed and then teleported down? Okay,
Not
so okay, that's all right. A little bit
Not
late,
worth it.
but yeah,
Not worth it. And
I
I'm gonna tell
agree,
you
not
why
worth it,
right
but
now.
also not the end of the world. But once again, this is the problem here. This is the second.
The reason why, okay, that would have been great on any other tribute other than this one because they're
It's
at
curse
2 out of
point.
3.
Right,
You,
but
you have to be there as early as possible. I understand you want to get the value out of your bribe. I understand getting split pressure is great. I understand. Should have been there. Just should have been there.
Oh, I totally agree, but not the end of the world. I think a bigger problem for blue
he should
team.
have been there.
The bigger.
I'm not saying it's the end of the world. I'm just saying he should have been there.
Agree. The bigger problem
Yeah.
here is looking at the team engagement here from blue team.
Right.
Okay.
Of course.
Once again, Li Ming is split.
But that's the thing, right? But that's the thing, right? Okay, fine. It's not the end of the world, and it's an okay move. A 1,000 times better move is to make this not a split engagement.
Right.
Is to go down with your squishies and make sure that they stay alive in the first place. Yeah, it's not a bad move necessarily, but there is a much better move out there, and the better move would be just get there, get to the frickin' tribute before it even becomes a fight that people are losing, and it's not a problem anymore.
Nashable, yes, this is a new game. It's Gold 4. I'm going to talk to ETC right here. Stage Dive is kind of tough to initiate with as a part of the initial initiation, and I really, really don't like this particular Stage Dive. And there's two reasons. One, where Varian is positioning, he is going to dive on this back line with a Gul'dan with him. ETC is going to be much better served to be able to maneuver from where he was. He was next to Brightwing. If he was over here next to Brightwing, he can position to peel for them better. And even if they don't go on the back line, what are all four of these people going to do as soon as he lands?
Turn around and blow him up.
Turn around and blow him up. The only person who can't reach him is Johanna, who doesn't do any damage anyway. By the way, look what happened on the back line.
And you split even farther.
And you split even
one of those
further.
things-
Varian didn't dive the backline like I thought. He actually patiently waited in this bush, and when Tychus and Jaina tried to engage with the stage dive, Gul'dan and Varian ate them.
Yeah, because they didn't need to. And that was one of those things that I'm saying before, right? Like, okay.
And now
bribe,
Ring had to be used
getting the-
defensively instead of offensively.
Getting the bribe there is fine, but when you come down as early as possible and make it a 5-on-5 from the
And this
get-go,
is a mistake, Angel. This is a mistake.
maybe it's not the problem that you did that, but you getting down there first of all solves a million more problems than you caused just by getting the bribe. If that was clear by me saying that, that was a weird way to say it. But
Yeah, I got it. We're gonna go back
Yeah.
about 15 seconds here, and I wanna show it when this was over. So this is one of those things. This damage control. Is it no? A little further. A little further. Okay, so. Nope. Sorry, leaving a little further. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, you know, it was one of those things where if it was Falstad using bribe up there to get the camp, all day, you could shove that back in my face and I wouldn't have an argument
Right.
there. But
Yep.
because it's Brightwing specifically, that's where the problem comes for me, is your job as a healer and understanding where you need to be and when you need to be there specifically. And when you need to be anywhere is as soon as you possibly can.
Well, and even furthermore, I think it's underrated the effect that being at an objective first has. You can pick the prime real estate to set everything up. and when you have to invade, it puts you at a disadvantage. Especially because this is on your defensive side, that's all the more reason to get there first. But I want to talk about, we're going to go back to the stage dive and decision making. So here's the stage dive, which I said I didn't like. Now let's watch this Varian, the Gul'dan, and the backline. Okay, now, Tychus is dead, and we're going to look at blue team. As blue team, their tank is low life. Their Jaina is completely useless because she has to run away. At this point, I would opt to concede the objective. Because what's going to happen is they're going to get the tribute, and you will have 4 people to defend this curse. And that sucks, but it's not the end of the world. So this was the decision point. You can either concede this objective and have 4 people defending it, or let's see what happens instead. See, and I thought they were disengaging here, which was a smart decision. Now, Angel, I think, makes a poor decision. Look at where he is relative to everybody. I mean, I know he was trying to get that Emerald Wind in there, but all he's doing is delaying the inevitable, and we've already said ETC can't stay in there with that poke.
Yeah, that was one of those moves just a little late. I might have gone to channel right there if I were the Brightwing to tell the ETC try to delay more, because I saw the Ring of Frost come out in a couple seconds.
And
yeah, I mean, just disengage. Just know when you've lost the battle and just leave.
And look, now Tychus is riding in again. Okay, now instead, it actually ended up being it's still 4 to defend it, but it was 1 more kill and another kill's worth of experience. So let's go to our Brightwing. Oh, they almost punished Ariel, but they don't, and Varian is there to save the day. I don't know why Angel is leaving there.
Stick around. I think he just tapped.
He was at about 3/4 health, 3/4 mana.
You heal yourself so fast anyways.
Yeah.
Oh, no, he sticks around. He sticks around.
Well, he just teleported in. And this is actually a pretty good defense by blue team overall here. So far, so good.
See that Tychus save the Odin, but that's okay.
This goes back again, rotating safely as Brightwing. We're going to take a look at vision here real quick. So who's missing? Johanna, Raynor, and Ariel are all missing. So just kind of be aware of that. Rotate safely. There you go. Now it's going safely on the backside. There was a Sage Dive up there, and see, and by the way, that right there, if Brightwing was up here, that was the perfect example of the overextending Varian. He dove in with Tychus. You respond with a polymorph and a power slide, and the Tychus will blow him. I mean, look at his life is already really low, and Brightwing isn't even there to follow up. That is the textbook example of an overextending Varian. Polymorph that Variant. Polymorph him. Poly him.
Yeah, she can't because she just used it on the Gul'dan. This is one of those instances.
Okay, there. Good finish though.
You want to talk about not using an ability just to be able to use
just to use it. Yep.
And it's something you see everywhere. It's something that I think even we're guilty of on our team constantly.
For sure.
Don't do things just because you can understand value, understand how what you are doing affects.
Nice job on the Ariel there.
Or negative turn for your team specifically.
But I mean, blue team is just not on the same page this game. They're kind of a little all over.
Is this a boss call?
This is a boss call, not a bad boss call. Although with Tychus there, that does make it a little harder. Jaina and Li Ming probably have the damage. And
they're probably fine.
They're probably okay. I would like to see Jaina. If you're going to get invaded, it's coming from over here. So that means I would prefer ETC on this right side and the squish ears more on the left side.
And maybe you going back and forth. Checking.
Yeah, perfect. Just like that, yeah.
Just earlier.
A little earlier, yeah.
And then you don't need to use Emerald Wind there. because she was too far. I understand the want to right before she pops her Iron Skin, just get her out of there. It's not even a thing, but she was too far. She couldn't have closed that gap.
We talked about this last game. I would be pinging Danger and Retreat to Tychus up here. And do not do that.
You're not a pro.
Well, it's not even a matter of being a pro. Is that you just did your own boss, and nobody on the enemy team is on the map for most of that time. So where are they? They're on their boss. So Brightwing kind of checked it on his own, and then ETC blindly stage dived in there. I mean, 9 times out of 10, it's just not going to work out for you.
The only times that you see that work is when somebody has vision.
Vision. Yeah, you need the vision.
Of that
you can't
before
blindly
they
dive
use
in.
stage dive. Yeah, a blind is never going to end up in your favor. If you had somebody checking and you know what
There's the
situation
great
is,
follow-up poly, by the way. And now, I said this minute 1 in this game, my target is the overextending variant, and he has proven time and time again that he is willing to do it. You guys need to be punishing this variant for diving in him like he is. He should have so many deaths at the end of this. With an ETC, a Jaina, a Leeming, every time he dives in, he dies. And he has proven time and again he's willing to overextend. Well, that does not help. A bot Tychus really doesn't help. I mean, not that Tychus has been helping a whole lot anyway, but...
This Tychus has been super underutilized. I mean,
Yeah, I agree.
if I'm Tychus against this team, I'm up in their face constantly. Varian is my favorite person to go against as Tychus because he took the wrong talent there. He took quarterback, which is the extra range on the grenade, when he really needed to pick Relentless Soldier, which gives you resistant anytime you get rooted or stunned. Anytime. There is no cooldown on that. So when you get point and click stunned followed up by a condemned stunned, that's 2 resistances in a row. And that's kind of like my favorite thing to do because you get resistance, they think they can take you down, and they end up getting chewed up and spit out.
3 observations. 1, the time to get Merc camps is not when the objective spawns, it's before the objective spawns. 2, this stage dive is really exposing the backline, but even still they almost got an extending variant. He power slid through the terrain, which I think kind of wasted the power slide. And then once again, Angel, you keep rotating really aggressively, man. You want to be very careful when you rotate. You almost got yourself in trouble again. I mean,
would you consider that power slide through terrain a trap talent?
Yes, 100%.
Being an ETC?
100%. Because the alternative at level 4 is the increased face melt distance.
Which is great for isolation.
Oh, it's so, and peeling. Isolation and peeling. It is 100%. Now, I've seen pros take it, so I'm not going to counteract them, but in general, Hero League, I would call it a trap talent 110%. Take the distance, right there, it could have made a difference. Right there's a perfect example of it. So, Angel, you've said that you weren't sure what you could do differently in this game. Isolating the variant. You guys, if you would be punishing this variant who is chronically overextending, you guys could and should be winning this game, and that's something you need to identify beforehand, because I identified that really, really early before anything happened in this game. And even if you didn't identify that vulnerability before the game started, you definitely should have noticed it early. And the other thing you can do is help your teammates out with positional awareness. When your teammates are forward like that, ping the danger, ping the retreat, let them know, because now you guys have staggered death timers, and I see this game starting to get away from you right here.
Yeah, part of the problem right here is part of maybe.
And see, like, actually, I'm gonna interrupt you. That teleport, that fort was dead. There's no reason to teleport there. It was now it's on cooldown, and look how far you are from the objective. It's one of those things to know when to defend and know not to.
Yeah, I don't think that this game is on Angel here. I think he's right, and we're looking at this kind of sitting through the same lens as the last game, where a lot of the decisions that had to have been made in this game are made because of things that your teammates are doing and the way that they chose to attack lanes or just position themselves in general. So it's so difficult when that happens.
I don't know,
and I don't know why you're leaning. I don't know why you're. not?
Well, because his teleport was on cooldown because he just used it, so he just stayed down there to soak the experience. While I agree with you, they're in a duo with ETC and Brightwing. If you want to punish Varian, those are the two heroes you need to do it.
Yeah.
So the two of you could have definitely worked that out between you. And now this game is getting away from you guys a little bit. So that's what I'm going to focus on in this game right now, is that Varian explicitly. Okay, stage dive onto a Gul'dan. That's not a bad use, except you're giving up the trip.
Yeah, here's another one of those instances where we're going to talk about nonstop. Or at least I'm going to talk about nonstop. Go enable your team, man. What are you... Okay, tributes up. It's curse point for you guys.
But not for them.
I understand. Right there, you guys could have had a Johanna pick off. They get it anyways, but it would have behooved your team much more for you guys to have grouped up there top to get that pick and then get some other pressure elsewhere, and not have to deal with this fight that you guys have to deal with right now. Because your ETC is really low, because your Tychus isn't really helping too much, and that's one of those things where, you know, you it's so hard, right, in a team league, in a hero league environment where nobody's on comms, where it's all, you know, single or duo queue, to kind of coordinate that. But that's where pings come into play. That's where, you know, a little bit of chat comes into play. And you guys could have ended up with a boss steal, I feel like, if you guys
or
had
the
just
keep
stayed
ball.
up there. Yeah.
Because the thing is, once ETC stage dived up here for the picks, which is not a terrible idea, but he was out of the tribute. He was out of the tribute fight. So at that point, you know they're all going to rotate down there. You may as well all just stay up there and get free push. The tribute doesn't mean much. It's only the second one. So, I mean, of course you don't want them to get it, but it's really not the end of the world.
But this is the tribute that's the end of the world, right?
This
the
is
next
the one
that comes up. It's not every single one.
And maybe that experience that you would have gotten split pushing in the lane and not dying makes the difference between them being 20 and you not being 20. Now this is the one you have to be at on time. No, don't get out of there. Just leave now. You're not going to get 20. Get up here. And what's especially problematic...
You're not even going to get 19. Just get out of there.
What's especially problematic is, one, if you're... Okay, we've said it before. We're going to say it again. You cannot rotate through here almost anybody on your team right now.
The danger zone.
Yeah, even ETC. And let's see what happens. Look, they're
isolated and blown up.
At least he sniffs it out. But look at Jaina just almost got one-shotted by Gul'dan, and you guys are split engaging once again. And in a duo queue, this is something you can control because you are 2/5 of the team. So if you guys are using the gravity of your duo to pull your team into the right spots, that will help. But instead, you're contributing to this split engagement with a solo tank who cannot hold the front line. And it's not that he's doing anything wrong. He is actually not able to hold the front line against the damage. Look at him right now. Nice Emerald win. Nice Emerald win.
I don't play a lot of Brightwing, but I would have said Blink Heal would have been a better ulti choice here. Specifically because Cursed Hollow is one of those maps where
you guys are dead now.
Be where you want to be immediately, and Brightwing is a slow character who has no mount, so when you're in those positions where you need to jump on the other side of a wall, be on the other side of the forest, that's where Blink Heal comes into play. And
the other observation I'm going to make is the gravity of you guys setting up that ETC with the Varian. The only time I saw Ring was used defensively, and that's a problem. That's symptomatic of how these team fights are going. That Jaina doesn't feel she's in a position to use her Ring of Frost offensively, which means ETC is not setting her up for them. And that's all symptomatic of, I think, 3 times in that same spot, the split engage is just killing you guys. Just absolutely killing you guys.
And that was the other thing, too, right on the other side of that.
And look, by the way, they have 3 range damage dealers. They can defend this safely. But they're not.
There's no reason Jaina should be up there.
No, this is game. You can see already on the timer, this is going to be game.
Alright.
That's a wasted Blizzard. Do not do that, Blizzard. So
Blink Heel could have saved Jaina right there.
yeah. So this is going to end. I'm sure this will wind out the game.
Yep, there it goes.
Yeah. So Angel said he felt like there's nothing that they could have done to win the game because of his teammates, and I very strongly disagree. I think this was an example of not recognizing how your team needed to engage on the other team. The other team.
It wasn't all on your teammates here. It was a lack of understanding across the board in terms of how you guys needed to approach these team fights.
Right. You guys had a solo frontliner with a non-burst healer against a team with Raynor and Gul'dan. Not only that, is they didn't have a solo frontliner. They had a dual frontliner. So that means ETC, you guys cannot get into those protracted poke battles because ETC will melt. He simply cannot do it. And actually, I don't care what tank it was in this spot. There is no tank that could hold this front line against in these comps.
Yeah, and I mean draft-wise too, we don't know anything that happened in the draft,
right.
Of course. But
that's
I would have hated to have seen last pick Jaina here when you needed a Illidan or a Kerrigan or something like that to dive the Gul'dan and the Raynor. I mean,
yeah,
it's so sad.
But as an ETC player, I could have made this work. And it was 100% predicated on identifying a Varian who put himself in a bad situation, and he did it time and time and time again. And the team never punished him for it. And look at the team they have, man. Varian dives in. You have a power slide. You have a face melt. Jaina drops a blizzard. Li Ming does a laser beam. Brightwing does the polymorph. Varian will explode. And it's a 5-on-4 like that. So this game was lost by a failure to recognize the manner in which blue team could win the team fights. And then it was made worse by the repeated split engagements. So
it's fine if that happens for the first couple tributes, but you guys never even learned. You guys
never adjusted.
Brought it back around.
Yeah. So let's talk to Angel and ETC to a lesser extent because they're a duo, right? So you guys could have used the gravity of the duo queue in how you rotated to the objectives because you guys were both going there separately. Go there together. The two of you together will pull your teammates to you because they want to be in a group. Rotate safely. That's something, Angel, you can definitely work on, man. You really want to rotate safely when you're a backliner like Brightwing. Now, if you're Johanna or you're a tank and you're explicitly rotating dangerously to serve as a mobile ward, that's part of the tank's job is to figure out where the enemy team is. Those are the situations where you can rotate aggressively. But as Brightwing, not so much. So rotate safely. Follow up on ETC. Really, you really want to get value out of that polymorph. You really, really got to get value out of that polymorph. And ETC, you abandoned your backline too much. There were just so many situations. When you stage dive, you're gone. So there's nobody there to soak up that damage for your team. I really want to see you use that stage dive less for initiation, because if you go back and watch this game, the times you initiated with the stage dive did not work. When you got a value out of the stage dive, it's when you dove to the top lane and you got those picks. And when you used it for global mobility, when you use it in pursuit, or when you use it mid-battle to finish off the backline. But as the initial initiation, it's really hard to use stage dive for that.
We've got a couple minutes for me to say this here. A lot of the times when we think about how to improve in this game, when we think about how to climb, when we think about what ways that we can do that, a big philosophy that a lot of people hold is, okay, play your character to the best of your ability, do everything that you could possibly do as your character to help win. That's wrong. It is so wrong. When you concentrate just on yourself, you stop seeing the bigger picture. Heroes is a team-based game. So much more than any other MOBA that exists out on the market right now. And rather than thinking about what can I do to make sure my character is doing the things that they need to do to the best of their ability, think about it in the opposite way. what can I do as my character to enable my team to become victorious? This isn't one of those things where you improve your micro and you just become the best right wing that there ever could possibly be and you carry your team to victory. That's not going to happen. What is going to happen is you as a individual looking at how your team is deciding to play, adjusting accordingly, and making decisions that help your team come to victory, not just doing what you can possibly do to be the best Brightwing that you can possibly be. You need to understand where you need to be at certain times, and this is something that comes with experience too. This is not something that even I'm like,
Yeah, we
fully
both need
versed
to work
in
on
yet.
this too. Yeah.
It's understanding the rest of your team just as much as understanding your character, your abilities, and all that stuff.
And that's an ever-evolving thing, too. With the patches and new heroes coming out, you're always
it's
learning
hard.
how to do that. Yeah, for sure. And I'm going to take it a step further. Like, obviously you want to play your hero the best you can play, right? But if you play the best Leeming you can possibly be, it doesn't matter if you engage not knowing that your team is 10 seconds away, right? So you just have to be cognizant of your team. And the more of these replays I can do, I think that's the number one thing. Die less, right? Right, die less. The number one thing everybody can do to improve on is die less. The number two thing, watch the mini map. Is it Sylvanas' fault she's not at the objective? Of course it is. But is it also all four of yours fault that you fought without her? Of course it is, right? Unless you're going to lose the game, don't take disadvantageous team fights, right? So get that Sylvanas on the same page with you. Or if you can't, work around what she's doing. There's always ways to do that. And I know it's hard in Hero League because everyone's on comms. You get all these randos. And you just have those games sometimes, to be honest, where you can't win them. But like I said in the beginning, for every game that you can't win, the opposition has that guy on their team when they can't win. So that means for every game you can't win, there is a game that you can't lose. So in the grand scheme of things, it's a grind, but you can climb up by improving your play 100%. So there's definitely things for both ETC and Brightwing to take away from this game. And this was absolutely a winnable game from Blue's point of view. 100% a winnable game.
Yeah, it's just like Kodadius said in the chat, making the bad decisions with your team is sometimes actually a better call rather than just playing to the best of your ability or keeping yourself alive, for example, because more often than not, and we have this problem all the time too as a team, is it stops becoming about what people did and didn't do and starts becoming more about the physical execution of what's going on in any given game, right? If you go into a disadvantageous team fight as 5 of you together, you have the possibility of turning that around because all 5 of you are there and all 5 of you can make a difference. When it starts to become a problem is when you say, I have a better idea than the rest of my team right now, my team's being stupid, I'm not going to help them. You just cause that team to lose. And you then make it about who was there and who wasn't there and what could have been done and what should have been done, and that all that kind of gets cut out if you guys just make the decision as a team.
So I'm going to throw one last finishing piece of advice because I think it's especially pertinent for both of these games we just watched, and I think it ties into us talking about adjusting to the game and how the team goes together. I think one of the easiest adjustments to make in a game is watching out for that overextending teammate. In that first game, it was Muradin, right? That Muradin was always too far forward. So when you're especially playing tank, but anybody, watch for the enemy team, that guy that likes to go too far forward. Specifically, Varians, Illidan's, Kerrigan's, Butchers, those really divey assassins, those are the ones that tend to go too far forward. So watch them and see if they're subjected to that. Punish them for that. And I think that's the easiest thing to start to look for in a game is that overextending melee assassin, and that's an easy thing to punish for them. And if you start to specifically look for that, you'll be able to train yourself to look for other things too. And that's the number one thing that's improved my tank play is identifying mispositionings on the other team that allows me to punish them for poor positioning.
I think we've said all we can say at this point.
I think so too.
Out of time.
We are. So thanks, guys, for submitting the replays. Episode 10 was great. I really appreciate it. Tell your friends. Submit more replays. We've got more to do. So we're going to sign off. Everybody have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you in the Nexus. Be on tomorrow for maybe some Hero League. If we feel like doing last-minute Hero League, we'll see. Have a good night, guys.
Take care, everybody.